Hello and welcome back to Daily Dose of Egyptian. Today we continue on with the tale of the Shipwrecked Sailor, columns 5 to 6. We begin. Red Hekenu, Doa Necher, Z Neb, Her Hepet, Senenu F. So, right off the bat, we start out with Red Hekenu here. Red here is a passive F. Just like we saw in the earlier lines, for instance, Hu Menit. And importantly, it's clear that these events are not occurring at the same time as the previous lines because there is that break in grammatical structure with the passive stative, which we saw yesterday. So, something was placed. Hekenu means praise. So praise was placed or given. And then we have another phrase, a very set phrase, Doa Necher. Now, Doa Necher here is written something like this. And you'll notice that this Necher flagstaff is fronted first. And this is, of course, because of what we call honorific transposition, where in these kinds of set phrases, the god's name or god's sign is placed before everything else, even if this isn't necessarily what's meant to be. So we read Doa Necher despite it really being Necher Doa. And this is also a passive Sejm F. And Red Hekenu and Doa Necher appear to mean the same thing, you know. Praise was given, God was thanked. But they do have very slightly different uses. So if we look here to the stela of Ameni Sonbe, we see, then he praised the God for me more than anything. Now, to praise the God, to Doa the Necher, is really just to give thanks. In this context, Ameni Sonbe is being thanked more than anything, and they use that expression to mean thank you, Doa Necher. Slightly differently, we see here from this stela of Neferhotep's, this Red Hekenu is used. And so it's im, that is cause, the imperative of ready. So cause, blah, blah, blah. And then we have the giving, or that it shall be given, to me praise, in the Tepter, that is the first seasonal festival, something like that, of this temple. And so to give thanks appears, at least in this context, in this construction, to be something like remembered or appreciated. So again, very similar in both literal and sort of, more realistic meaning between Doa Necher and Red Hekenu. But it's interesting to note that they are slightly different, although really the same thing. And then we have every man was embracing. Now this her hepet here is, of course, the pseudo-verbal construction of the first present, as it's later known. And this pseudo-verbal construction means that this is sort of the present continuous, is embracing, literally. But in narrative texts, we get what's called the narrative infinitive, where these infinitives are used as past tenses with past reference. So you could say, with every man embracing, or you can say, and every man embraced, depending on whether or not you want it to be more literal in indicating the infinitive or really what it's sort of meant. And then we have his fellows. So Senenu here is an interesting, sorry, I wrote that wrong, is an interesting word because it literally means seconds. So for instance, note the use of sen in the phrase sepsen. And senenu means seconds, but it really sort of just means equals, or in this context, more something like companions. So every man was embracing his companions or fellows.